So halfway heading home, it decides to have a major thunderstorm.
Yeah, all of a sudden it just started downpouring. The thunder was so loud and it was lightning outside. And we were riding our bikes back to the Airbnb. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to our channel. Today we're going to be telling you guys about our honeymoon and all of the obstacles and adventures we experienced during our honeymoon. We went to Florida. So the night before our honeymoon, I was up all night packing. I literally got no sleep. I packed for both of us, and I told him to go to sleep because he was going to be the one driving.
So long drive.
It was a very long drive.
18 hours total. We stopped maybe about 3 or 4 times on the way there.
Yeah. So we were up by 5 o'clock in the morning. Well, he woke up and I was already awake. And we packed up the car, and Len looked over the car to make sure everything was okay before we left, and he saw something that caught his eye and didn't look too good.
I ordered a fuel filter for the car a while ago. When I said, if we're going to take the car on this long trip, probably not a bad idea to change the fuel filter. The filter had like rust on it, and to me it looked like it hasn't been changed in a long time.
Yeah.
So I decided to change it. Such a good idea right before we're leaving, right? So it is 6 in the morning, and I decided to take the fuel filter off this car. I take off the fuel filter and to put the new one back on, to only find it won't stop leaking because the new fuel filter they gave me had the wrong O-rings. Who would have thought the parts place got it wrong? So
we finally left around, I think, like 8 o'clock in the morning. We finally were on our way. We stopped at McDonald's. We always have to get food before we go anywhere. We stopped at McDonald's first.
And then from there, we started our drive. Our long
It was
drive.
so long, but since he was driving, I got to get some sleep, but because I was in the car, I kept waking up. And there was a lot of traffic in Washington, D.C.
A lot.
We were stuck in traffic in Washington, D.C., and I had to pee so bad. And it took us forever to get off the exit to find a rest stop. So I had to hold my pee forever.
So after we drove through there, we drove through Virginia and West Virginia, and we couldn't believe how much they try to enforce the radar. Now, if you're ever driving through there on the highways to Florida, all they want to do is tell you about how they're going to watch you with drones and do all kinds of radar
There were signs
things.
everywhere.
So I would be careful to watch your speed. I just kept up with the traffic. We finally got to North Carolina to get gas. That was one of our first, or maybe second stop.
We went to Chick-fil-A first, though.
In North Carolina.
Yeah, their Chick-fil-A was really good.
It was really good. But then we went to get gas and fill up. So I decided, since I changed the fuel filter, just to check on to see how everything was going out underneath there. Because I did eventually find a way to make it stop leaking, and it wasn't leaking. So I checked it, and sure enough, it was leaking. I went to AutoZone. I bought the more expensive part.
And mind you guys, it was 100 degrees outside.
The asphalt was so
it
hot.
It was burning hot.
With gasoline mixed on the asphalt, I don't know what the reaction was, but it burned my arm. It felt like my arm was on fire.
Yeah, he was under the car in North Carolina in 100-degree weather fixing the fuel filter.
I changed the fuel filter again for the second time.
And we finally got to Georgia, where we were staying in an Airbnb just for the night to take a break. We were finally on our way to Florida, and the first thing we did when we got to Florida was we stopped at Anna Maria Island, and it's my favorite beach ever. The water was so warm and so clear, and we stayed there for probably like 2 hours just in the water. It was so nice. We went there before we even went to the Airbnb.
But what was nice about Anna Maria Island is that the beach that you went to, it wasn't like a Jersey beach where you walk a mile out to the water just to see the water.
Yeah,
you know,
it was more secluded too.
And not only that, but it was like you walked maybe 100 feet out and you were in the water. And you could actually go in the water. Unlike Jersey, it's freezing cold.
Yeah, it's so cold in Jersey you have to sit on the beach, but in Florida we sat in the water for a long time. After that, we finally went to our Airbnb, and it was really nice. It was really cute, and it was right in the middle of everything. And It was in a really nice neighborhood as well. Sarasota is so beautiful.
And the Airbnb was awesome. They provided everything in there. They had the towels, all the beach accessories. They had bikes there if we wanted to use them. They had all kinds of stuff.
And if you guys
Airbnb.
stay tuned, you'll hear a funny story about us having to ride the bikes. So we got to Sarasota, Florida on July 3rd. We went back to Anna Maria Island the next day because we loved it so much. And then after that, on the 4th of July, we got to see fireworks over the water.
So when we were crossing the bridge, you could see every boat out on the water with all LED lights, all light up stuff on the boats.
And they were waiting to watch the fireworks
in the
water.
It was such an amazing sight to see.
Cool. So July 6th is my birthday, and we went kayaking through the Mangrove Tunnels, and that was really cool. When we were kayaking through the Mangrove Tunnels, if you've never seen them, there's a whole bunch of trees, and they're grown into like an arch, so it looks like a tunnel, and certain ones you have to like duck through because they're too short.
So when you're going through the Mangrove Tunnels, they're very short, and you have to duck down and dodge the branches that are growing together.
Yeah.
There's also crabs that run up the little branches.
They're little black crabs all over the trees.
And they move really quick. They're like big spiders.
I think one of them fell on one of the girls we were with, actually.
That was a scream.
Yeah, it was really fun though. They weren't big, like they couldn't hurt you, but
They can pinch.
They can pinch, but it was kind of scary going through there with the crabs, but it was really, really cool.
Yeah, as long as you didn't touch them or reach your hand out, you didn't have anything to worry about.
As long as you didn't fall out, because there was really, really sharp shells on the bottom that if you fell out, you would cut your foot.
Possibly.
Yeah, so he advised us not to fall out of our kayaks.
Yes, especially on purpose.
Yeah.
Like people have done in the past.
Yeah.
But we went through like at least a couple miles of Mangrove Tunnels.
And it was so hot.
It was an Airbnb experience. It was $50 a person, and we rent the kayaks and they take us through the thing with a tour guide. We also have a chance to see manatees in the water. It was hosted by Orlando. If you guys are ever on Airbnb, check out Orlando's Kayak Sarasota Bay and Mangrove Tunnel tour. It's very good. I suggest it. We had so much fun on it.
It was a lot of fun. It was so hot, and I never wear sunscreen, but that day we applied sunscreen every 30 minutes. We brought it with us on the kayak and had to keep reapplying it to our face, arms, and legs because I felt myself getting burnt because the Florida sun is so hot. And when we were kayaking in the Sarasota Bay, we were actually lucky enough to see some manatees, which was really, really cool. They're giant animals.
They're huge. They can startle you.
Yeah.
They are really cool to see in the water, but she doesn't like anything that swims around in the water that she's never seen before.
Yeah. Well, I thought it was going to come up like under the boat and flip me.
I wanted to get as close as possible, but I hear that you can scare them very easily.
So you have to be really quiet when you see them. We also saw dolphins, right? And we saw jellyfish. After we went kayaking on my birthday, we went to Bahama Breeze for dinner. That's one of my favorite places.
It was really good. I enjoyed it, and that's how we ended up ending our night on her birthday.
Yeah.
Then, the next day, we actually went and booked another tour on the beach. It was on Siesta Key Beach, and it was a sunset e-bike tour. So we rode electric bikes down and up the whole beach.
And that beach is huge. Siesta Key is rated the #1 beach in the United States, if you guys didn't know. It's really, really big. The sand is really white, and the water is super clear. We rode electric bikes at sunset, and it was so much fun. It was actually supposed to rain, so every other couple that booked the tour canceled, and we still wanted to go. So we ended up being the only couple, so it was just us and the tour guide, which was really cool. And
so it was kind of like a personal tour.
Yeah, it was really, really fun. The show Siesta Key is filmed on that beach.
Next to where that house is, that big mansion, if you go out front of it and go around the rocks on the side, you can actually see a spot where you can actually go snorkeling.
Yeah.
And we actually ordered snorkel kits from Amazon and got them shipped to our room. It was awesome.
It was so cool. So after that, we went to Mayaca State Park. So it has like a lot of walking trails, and it's a lot of nature and animals and scenery. And we actually did get to see alligators, which was really cool.
It was nice because you could drive through basically the whole park, and then you could get out of your car and walk a little bit.
Yeah.
But it was nice because you could stay in your car because it was pretty hot out.
On one of the trails, they had a staircase, and you could go all the way to the top above the treetops, and you could see everything. It was really, really cool.
So we also decided to go up to Clearwater Spring and visit all the different springs. We tried to go see as many as possible. We ended up seeing Rainbow Springs.
Mm-hmm.
That one was awesome.
Yeah,
I mean,
it was so cool.
It was crystal clear water. You could actually see blue water coming out of the ground.
I have some pictures I'll put in here.
And not only that, but it was ice cold.
It was freezing. And we also kayaked down Rainbow Springs as well.
And the current on Rainbow Springs was actually very strong. When we were kayaking down Rainbow Springs, we also saw some fish, and we saw a really cool fish really close. It was called a long-nosed gar. That was so cool.
The next day we went to, it was called Three Sisters Springs, and it's another Clearwater spring, and in order to get to this one, you have to kayak there. And when we first got on the kayaks, everything seemed fine, and then I realized that we were kayaking through the ocean in the bay.
Yeah, so we had to cross through the inlet into the ocean and then through another inlet.
Mind you, it was about to storm.
Yeah, so there was a big storm coming through.
It was so choppy, the water. I was terrified. It was probably like the most scariest day of my life. I thought we were going underwater. Like, I thought our kayak was gonna flip, and I'm deathly afraid of sharks. So that's all I was thinking about the whole time. And we finally got there, and there was a lot of people there. The water was super cold, but it was really cool, and the water was really clear.
It was definitely worth it. It was really clear. You could go down to the bottom, which was about like 25 feet deep.
It was super...
It looked that deep.
It was super blue. Like, if you looked underneath the water, because we had the snorkels, it was just blue.
If the water wasn't so cold, I would have enjoyed it a lot more.
Yeah.
Because I would have been able to stay in it longer.
Yeah, definitely.
It was really cold out, and with the wind and everything, I was freezing.
So we were trying to beat the storm on the way back to the beach. And when we were doing that, it was getting super, super windy, which was making the water even more choppy. And it was harder for us to paddle back because of the wind. The wind was going against us. So we were coming from Siesta Key Beach one day, and we were on our way back to the Airbnb, and we decided to stop at a pet store. And they had kittens, and we just got done looking at them, and they were really cute. So we got back in the car, and we started driving again, and all of a sudden the car turned off. And I remember looking at Len, and I said, "Why did you shut the car off?" And he said, "I didn't."
Nope.
So the car turned off, and he coasted into a gas station. And we were there for hours trying to figure out what was wrong with it.
So when we went into the gas station, we coasted into it. I looked underneath the car to see if the fuel filter was leaking again. Mm-hmm. The fuel filter wasn't leaking. Mm-hmm. I found out afterwards, after looking over the car, that the fuel pump had stopped working. Mm-hmm. So at that point,
it was getting super late. We were still at the gas station, so there was nothing we could do about it at that very moment.
So we ended up getting the car towed back to our Airbnb.
We were there for hours. I think we waited there until 10 or 11 o'clock at night. and we had to get towed all the way back to the Airbnb. We didn't have our vehicle and we needed parts for the car. So the only other type of transportation that we had were the bikes at the Airbnb. Now mind you, Home Depot was probably a 30-minute car ride away from the Airbnb. Was it 30-minute car ride?
No, it was probably about 15, 20 minutes.
A 15 or 20-minute car ride from the Airbnb. So we decided that we were going to ride the bikes to Home Depot to get all the parts for the car. And first we stopped to get breakfast. And we got pancakes. That was really good.
It was a far ride. It took us about a half hour to 45 minutes to get there.
And it was really, really hot outside that day. It was so hot. And we finally got to Home Depot, and we got drinks, and we sat there for a little bit to cool down.
Yeah, we ended up sitting down in a chair for about 20 minutes just to give ourselves a break.
Yeah, because it was really hot.
But after that, we got all the tools, we put it on our little pack, and then we started heading home. So halfway heading home, it decides to have a major, major thunderstorm.
Yeah.
I mean, it was one of the worst storms I ever heard, and it downpoured the hardest.
All of a sudden, it just started downpouring. The thunder was so loud, and it was lightning outside. And we were riding our bikes back to the Airbnb. And if you've ever witnessed a Florida thunderstorm, you know exactly what we're talking about. They are so loud and so intense. And we were riding our bikes through them. Our clothes were completely soaked. Our shoes were soaked. We could barely see because it was pouring so hard.
And once you saw the lightning, you heard it right away.
Yeah.
It was like right next. I gave her my hat and I kept my sunglasses while we were riding back because the rain was so hard.
Yeah.
And literally, you couldn't look straight. You had to look down
Yeah.
at the whole time riding because the rain was so bad. We did make it home.
We finally got back
without getting lightning struck.
Our clothes were just completely soaked.
That was an interesting time.
Yeah, that was definitely an adventure.
So when we got home with the tools, I found out that there was a hole underneath the back seat to access the fuel pump. Like, how great would that be just to access the fuel pump right there and not have to drop the fuel pump or drop the tank? So I went to take off the seat, and the hole was not in the right spot. The fuel pump was not even near the hole. I ended up cutting a metal square out of the bottom of the seat and just peeling it back to access the fuel pump.
Yeah. Well, we took the cushions, like the cushions for the seats come off, so we cut underneath the seats, like not on top.
Yeah.
Just to find out.
It was only a hose that popped off.
The hose popped off. We didn't even need a new one.
We put the hose back on, we put it all back together, and it worked great.
So that was a part of our honeymoon in Sarasota. We also went to the Key West and to Miami, Florida.
We also broke down again. Thanks guys for watching. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, leave us a comment below just to let us know you're watching and if you like these videos. If you haven't already, check out our channel and all our rest of our videos.
Stay tuned for part 2. There's going to be many more exciting adventures and obstacles that we have to tell you guys about. We did break down another time and ran into some problems as well.
I hope you guys enjoyed this video.
We'll see you guys in the next video.